Okay, Rich Van Tassel here with you. Today is December 23rd, 2015. It's a Wednesday. Doing a flash news alert. I had seen someone post on Facebook that the NBA is doing a public service announcement regarding the epidemic, quote unquote, of gun violence in the United States, and they're going against the NRA basically in this video. Now, I love the NBA. Basketball is probably my favorite sport, but I gotta say, I'm a little ashamed of the NBA for doing this. I didn't watch the video, as in I did not listen to it. I saw some of the players in it. One was Steph Curry, another was Carmelo Anthony, and another was Joakim Noah. I'd like to start with Joakim Noah first. This is a guy who plays in Chicago. Chicago has some of the strictest gun laws in the country, and people are murdered by guns constantly. And why? Because the population is not armed. They cannot defend themselves, folks. It's very simple. Um, Carmelo Anthony grew up in Baltimore. Baltimore used to have some of the worst crime numbers in the country, especially during the time he was growing up. It very well still may. I really haven't looked it up, but the Washington Wizards were formerly the Washington Bullets and the Baltimore Bullets. They moved from Baltimore because of gun violence, and then they changed their name when they were in Washington from the Bullets to the Wizards because of gun violence in those cities. They have some of the strictest gun laws in America, people. Why do people get killed in areas where there is, or why do people get killed by guns in areas that have some of the strictest gun laws? Yes, that's right, because the population cannot get a gun to defend themselves. Now, I think it's important that we know why the NRA was formed. The NRA was formed to arm freed blacks in the South with guns to protect themselves from being killed by white people during that time who wanted them dead, especially in the South. So, what is the best way to defend yourself against someone who wants you dead? Yes, you've got it again. It's to arm yourself and protect yourself with a gun. The NRA is not racist. They are not a racist organization, as some of you would, believe. A lot of you on the left, and that just shows why they were arming freed blacks in the South to protect themselves against white people. The NRA wants everyone to have a gun, every law-abiding citizen, that is, to own a gun. They don't just want white people to own guns. I hate to break it to you. Now, I am not a gun owner, and I probably should own a gun, especially in these times. But I'm not a member of the NRA. I'm not here to defend the NRA. It's just become very simple to me for doing studies. I haven't always felt this way on guns, but when you look at the numbers, it just says that the more guns you have, the less violent crime you have. Yes, you are going to have more gun violence because there are more guns. Such as in Great Britain, they have less gun violence, of course, because no one can own a gun in Great Britain. However, the violent crime, the overall violent crime in places like Great Britain is much higher. Well, actually, it's not much higher as far as just strict numbers to numbers. But however, the United States is over 300 million people. Great Britain has about 65 million people. And the numbers are still higher there in Great Britain, even with that disparity. You know what they do in Britain? They stab themselves all the time because no one can have a gun. Should we ban knives next? Probably. But it just shows you that, and when I said probably banning knives, I was being sarcastic for those of you who didn't recognize. It just shows that guns are the best way to defend people from violent crime, and people who want to do violence will do so. I've said before, I could take a car and go driving down, the streets of Manhattan, and I could probably kill 25 people in less than a minute just running them over with my car. By the time I was stopped, you could probably get 100 people dead just driving your car onto the sidewalk in New York City. Okay, should we ban cars next? It's over 30,000 people a year are killed by guns or are killed in car accidents in the United States. Should we ban cars? No, you don't ban cars. Unfortunately, people die. Things happen. It's sad. I mourn for all the victims of gun violence, just as I mourn for any victims of any other, situation where people die. But it's also very convenient that people will, look at death at the hands of one thing, but not care about the other. When people die from vaccine usage, people on the left will, quickly remind you how low the numbers are, this, that, and the other thing. But when it's low numbers that people die from gun violence, well, hey, we gotta ban guns, we gotta ban guns, we gotta ban guns. Okay, people, Do you understand why? Now, I will acknowledge there are probably a lot of well-meaning people who don't believe this, or don't have this belief, and this is not why they don't want people to own guns. Um, they just, hate seeing, things like Sandy Hook. If you believe the official story, which I do not, they hate seeing things like the San Bernardino shooting, where it was two terrorists, where people were getting shot, and they look at it and say, we got to do something because people are dying. However, the main reason why people don't want your guns, and yes, it's true, is because when the government wants to take over, they need a disarmed population. It's really that simple, folks. That's why the Second Amendment is there. People will say, well, no, that references a militia. What part of this has anything to do with militia? A militia is simply armed citizens ready to create an army. It's armed free citizens. It's not an organized army, and that's why you have the Second Amendment for that. Now, the last but not least, I want to go over what we have as far as the gun epidemic, the gun violence epidemic. Now, I'm going to show you guys a video real quick. Here it is. It's from NPR. NPR is certainly not in favor of the NRA, so they're not on the NRA side here. So we're going to show you this for you. And hopefully you all can see that up top. Rate of U.S. gun violence has fallen since 1993, study says. Up there, you see it says NPR? Alright. Now I'm going to scroll down just a bit. Alright, first sentence. Since 1993, the United States has seen a drop in the rate of homicides and other violence involving guns, according to two new studies Tuesday. Using government data, analysts saw a deep drop for violence in the 90s and saw more modest drops in crime rates in the 2000s. Now, if you don't believe me and you think I'm just making that up, there you go. There is the first. We'll do it one more time slowly so you can see it. That is the first paragraph. And I've seen numbers higher. I've seen numbers up to 61% for that. So we'll go with NPR here because we know you liberals. You know what? I shouldn't say liberal. We know you progressives. Liberals are good people. Progressives are not. We know you progressives will often say that, well, that's just an NRA number. Where are you getting those facts from? NPR. Okay? NPR is very favorable to the progressives. I don't call it National Public Radio. I call it National Progressive Radio. All right? So, and as far as the NBA doing this, I would say Steph Curry, who was in the video, he's not aware of, the plan for the government to take people's guns so they can take over. I'm sure that's the last thing on his mind, but I would be willing to bet that between Steph Curry, Carmelo Anthony, and Joakim Noah, at least one and most likely all three of them probably walk around with some form of security, and I bet those guys are armed with guns. Michael Moore doesn't like guns. You know what Michael Moore has? Yep, you guessed it, he has armed security guards, folks. So it just shows that guns are the best way to defend yourselves from people, and especially if someone has a gun. If a criminal has a gun, do you want to have a gun to protect yourself? Yeah, I would think you would. Alright, so we just wanted to do that there. We will be back tomorrow with the preview of the Thursday night football game. And if you don't watch that one and you watch this, have a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. And we'll be sure to see you guys later. Thank you so much.